out there in West Texas had a bunch of those Royce dogs. They were all Richardson and a little bit of Wallace. Had a bunch of different stuff in them,
Yeah.
but mostly Richardson dogs, And so those dogs made a hell of a mark. That champion pig that Dibble and Chavez had was supposed to be a great dog. Bert Sorrells borrowed him and bred him, and boy, he was sure a fine looking dog.
Mhm.
You know, you knew Bert Sorrells fairly well. What do you think of Bert? His dog.
Well, he was, he started to, I always think these guys are stranger guys that sell dogs. Like Colby, he was very open about selling dogs. He started advertising them, called them the Sorrels line, the winning kind. But
Yeah,
Bert was a guy that was, when he got into something, he was thought about it 24 hours a day, and that's the way he was with the dog.
right.
Yeah. So he had some good dogs. One of the best was Goober, I think.
Oh, really?
He's one of the best dogs I'd ever seen. I remember I was up at his place, and he wanted me to come up, and he wanted to talk to me about dogs and demonstrate some things. So we rolled a whole lot of dogs. That he said, "You want to see a good one?" And he had Goober,
Yeah,
and he got him out and he rolled him. And I thought, wow, that is an impressive dog.
yeah.
So I went to a couple of his matches after that, and then he was matched against a dog named Carver that
Lewis,
Lulu's brother. What was his brother's name?
Jimmy Lewis.
Yeah, Jimmy Lewis.
Yeah,
Jimmy Lewis was handling him, and he was surprisingly he was ahead of Goober, because
right.
Goober was a talented dog, but he's
Yeah,
ahead of him. And at about 2 hours and 20 minutes, Jimmy Lewis called Carver into a turn with the idea that Goober wouldn't be able to scratch
right,
because he looked almost dead,
right.
and and he and he and so anyway, Carver scratched, and then they picked. It was a Goober's turn to scratch,
Right,
and over his corner he looked around. Here he looked almost dead,
right.
and he looks around for the other dog, and he
Ah,
scratched.
wow.
And so then it was Carver's turn to scratch, and he made one of those scratches where he came across, and then stalked about a foot away, and got
Ah,
started out that way.
yeah. It was a long one though. It was like I remember
Two
reading.
hours and 27 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Carver was actually a son of Zebo. Did you know that?
Of who?
Of Adams Grand Champion Zebo. He was off of
Oh
Zebo.
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was off of Zebo to a Carver female.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. He was bred that way, and
Well, he's a good dog.
yeah,
A lot of times Bert was annoyed with me, and I called him to tell him, what a great dog I thought Goober was. I'd
yeah,
been impressed by him before.
yeah.
And he said, and the other dog's a cur too, wasn't he? And I said, we went 2 hours and 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and stopped a foot away. I don't think I'd call him a cur.
Oh, yeah. Shit. Yeah, that's what it is with people, man. I did a show about that the other day. Everything's black and white to people. They don't look at the quality of the contest. They don't look at the quality of the two dogs. They just see, oh, well, he didn't go. They don't understand that went 2 hours and 20 minutes. That
Yeah,
was close with two great dogs. Man,
yeah,
that's the problem with today and the internet. People have such unrealistic expectations of what a dog should be, and they don't
yeah.
give any credit. Any
Yeah, they're flesh and blood. I
Yeah,
remember Doyle Reddick one time said, "I'll take all those 2-hour curs I can get."
yeah, yeah. That's a hell of a dog that goes 2 hours,
Yeah,
and that's my limit too, man. Anything past that is bonus. So I'm pretty. laid back about that. We've got any other Sorrels dogs that you saw that were noteworthy? Did you ever see Hard Eyes or Shoshone or any of those dogs?
Yeah, I saw Shoshone, and um, I remember he was matched against a dog that was smaller than him,
Uh huh.
and he was a whale of a dog because I thought that smaller dog was going to win. They both had matches that fell through, and they decided to go ahead with it. And
Right.
this was I don't know how the dog was bred, but he was a kind of a bluish color. You know, everybody always talks about these crazy blue dogs they have now that are obviously just pets. You know, they're not
Yeah.
game dogs. But this was a game dog. He was a good dog because he had, you know, Ralph Greenwood was there, and he was saying, "I'd pick that little dog up. You know, he's got too much weight." And Needham was refereeing, and he says, maybe the guy knows his dogs, Ralph.
Yeah.
And he says, because somebody had sung a little bit, and he
Yeah.
said, was it the red dog that was doing the talking there? And Needham said yes, and he's heating up.
Yeah.
But he's pushing way too much weight, and he eventually lost.